Hello my beautiful people, welcome to my channel. My name is Ro. Today, as you guys can see, I'm going to be discussing my favorite thrillers of all time. This is my top 20. I know of all time is a pretty big statement considering this list will probably change in a year's time or even less than that. I don't know. This is the list that I've compiled up until now. I've gone through all the films that I own and I've come up with this list. This list is going to be mainly psychological thrillers, supernatural thrillers, paranormal thrillers, and crime thrillers. Now, as you guys know, thrillers have a lot of subgenres and they do sometimes overlap with each other. There are a lot of action thrillers that I love, and if I was to include one of them in this, I knew I had to include all of them, and I couldn't fit all of them in my top 20 because I do really love psychological and supernatural thrillers a lot. So they're the ones we're mainly going to be focusing on, as well as, like I said, crime. So I just wanted to throw that out there so I would let you guys know that I'm not including action thrillers such as Inception, Salt, Red Sparrow, Running Scared, Enemy of the State, Taken, Air Force One, Speed. Mainly action films with some thriller elements, as well as action sci-fi thrillers like Fifth Element, Independence Day, War of Worlds, In Time. They, like I said, do have thrilling elements, but they're mainly action sci-fi, as well as crime dramas like the Ocean's trilogy, Dog Day Afternoon, Heat. So they do have a little bit of crime, but they don't have the thrilling element, not really. And the reason I wanted to bring up the crime dramas is because I do have some crime thrillers in this list, and I wanted to make sure that you knew that there was a difference between them. I'm sure you guys know if you're movie buffs, but I wanted to make sure that I was very transparent with you guys as to how I'm going to be selecting my favorite thrillers. Okay, so I'm going to start from my 20 and work my way to number 1, just like I usually do with my countdowns and rankings. So at number 20, I have the film Fracture. I really love this movie. It is a psychological thriller. I'm going to read the synopsis because I just don't know how to word it myself. So it says, an attorney intending on climbing the career ladder, played by Ryan Gosling, towards success finds an unlikely opponent in a manipulative criminal, played by Anthony Hopkins, that he is trying to prosecute. So this film is really psychological. It is a crime drama, but it has the thrilling elements. And I know that I said that I wasn't going to include crime dramas, but I still consider this to be a thriller, in my opinion. Apologies if you disagree, but I definitely think that this is a thriller. Apologies for that massive noise. My dad is vacuuming. It's always something that's going on in my videos. Number 19, I have I See You. This stars Helen Hunt, and this is a movie that I saw on Netflix. I just randomly put it on and it blew my mind. On IMDb, it is considered a crime drama horror, but to me it felt more like a thriller, so I'm going to say it is a thriller. Like I said, again, this is just me, you guys can disagree. It is a story about a detective who's trying to investigate the disappearance of a boy, and during this period of time his family starts to experience strange things in their home, and that is where I'm going to leave it. A lot of you who have seen this will probably understand why I think it's a thriller, because it does feel like a supernatural thriller, but there's a massive twist and lots of things going on in this movie. I was very tense during this movie, and that's why I consider it a thriller. At number 18, I have The Others, starring Nicole Kidman. Now, I do realize that this does have horror elements, but to me it is more a mystery thriller. This is a story about a woman who lives in her home with her 2 photosensitive kids, and she becomes convinced that the house is haunted. This movie is excellent. This film's twist really got to me. I think that any real thriller to me has to have a very huge twist or something that shocks you. But I know that that happens with horror as well. So it's such a fine line between thriller and horror, but I definitely do think that The Others is more of a thriller than a horror, so I'm just going to go with that. At number 17, I have Prisoners. This is the movie starring Jake Gyllenhaal and Hugh Jackman. This is a story about a man who is so desperate to find his missing child that he goes to extreme lengths to do it, and it is just so intense, Hugh Jackman plays the father. The child is missing, I should say, and Jake Gyllenhaal plays the detective. And like, this film is so intense. It's so intense. This is a crime drama mystery, but to me, mystery equals thriller, so I'm going to add it on the list. It is subjective, I guess, thriller, because a lot of different genres can be thrilling. This is a very deep psychological film, and the mystery and crime parts tend to make up a thriller, so that is why I've added this on the list. And I absolutely love this movie. If you haven't seen it, I 100% think that you should watch it. It is so intense, and the performances by Jake Gyllenhaal and Hugh Jackman are incredible, especially Hugh Jackman. He's amazing in this, and it's got fantastic actors in it, so I definitely think it's worth it. And if you love thrillers and you haven't seen this, you need to get on it because it is so good. At number 16, I have Disturbia. This is the film starring Shia LaBeouf. This is a story about Cale, who is under house arrest, and he believes he witnesses his neighbor commit murder. I love this movie. I remember when it first came out that I watched this constantly. Like, I watch this all the time. I really love this movie. I think it's great. I think the acting is good. I know that the plot seems very typical, but it's still a very, very enjoyable film. At number 15, I have Presumed Innocent. This stars Harrison Ford, and it is a story about a woman who gets murdered, and the lawyer played by Harrison Ford is investigated because he seems to be a lot closer to this case than people might think, and they think that he could be guilty of this crime. Probably one of my favorite Harrison Ford performances as well as movies. I really enjoy him in this role. I really love this movie. It's your typical 90s kind of thriller. I'm going to say it's more of a crime thriller, mystery thriller. When I first watched it, I knew straight away it was going to be one of my favorites. At number 14, I have Dial M for Murder. This is an Alfred Hitchcock film, and it stars Grace Kelly. This is a story about a man who believes his wife is having an affair, so he hires somebody to kill her, but the murder doesn't go quite as planned, and it's just so much fun to watch with the whole investigation part of it. So highly enjoy this. Short and sweet, but I think that that's all I need to give you to watch this. Really enjoy it. At number 13, I have The Bone Collector starring Denzel Washington and Angelina Jolie. This is a story about a quadriplegic ex-homicide detective and his partner who try to track down a serial killer that is terrorizing New York City. I'll tell you straight away, did not see the twist coming the whole time, did not know who the killer was. It was such a great twist, and really enjoyed the performances in this. I loved the forensic part of this movie so much that it kind of made me want to become a forensic scientist. But when I realized I would have to see dead bodies, I decided against it. This was me very young, by the way. This came out in 1999, so that was my my dream squished pretty quickly. I really enjoy the way that the 90s thrillers were made, so a lot of these films you're going to see on this list are from the 90s. At number 12, I have Gone Girl. This stars Ben Affleck and Rosamund Pike. This is a David Fincher film, and it is a story about a woman who goes missing and her husband is the main suspect. This film is amazing, and it is a book originally, so it was adapted from a book. So was The Bone Collector, and so I just wanted to say that lots of these thrillers and lots of thrillers in general that have really good twists tend to be books made into film. This one is probably one of the best book to film adaptations that I have personally read and watched, so I highly recommend this film. The twist doesn't necessarily come where you think it's going to come. It's a great twist. I don't know how else to explain it, but wow, it's a shocking twist, and the ending is insane, and I just think that this is one of the most crazy, out there kind of thrillers. It is also super entertaining. At number 11, I have The Silence of the Lambs. This stars Anthony Hopkins and Jodie Foster. This film is a classic. I feel like all of you know what it's about. I'm just going to read it because it's just easier. A young FBI cadet, played by Jodie Foster, must receive the help of an incarcerated and manipulative cannibal killer, played by Anthony Hopkins, to help catch another serial killer, a madman who skins his victims. So if you haven't seen it, I don't know where you've been living, under a rock probably. It's got an 8.6 out of 10 on IMDb. This is a crime drama thriller, so it does have the thriller element in there, and I absolutely love this film. So now we're up to the top 10, and at number 10 I have Black Swan. This stars Mila Kunis and Natalie Portman. Probably should have said the names in the other way around because it does mainly focus on Natalie Portman. She wins the role of the main lead in the Swan Lake production, and during her transformation into this character that she's becoming, she kind of loses her sanity, and it's kind of a very slow, dramatic thriller. It's not a fast-paced thriller by all means. At number 9 I have Rear Window. This is another Hitchcock film on this list. This is pretty similar to the movie Disturbia. Obviously this came out first. So this is a story about a photographer who has broken his leg, and he has nothing better to do than to spy on his neighbors, and while he is spying on his neighbors, he believes he witnesses a murder. Such a great film. This is a mystery thriller. This is definitely my absolute favorite of Alfred Hitchcock, and I definitely think that it's worth the watch. At number 8 I have The Sixth Sense. This is a M. Night Shyamalan movie. I've done a ranking video before for you guys, so there are going to be 2 more M. Night films on this list, and I'm hoping that they're in the same order as the M. Night ranking video, but like I said, sometimes things change, feelings change, and I forget the order that I love these in, so please forgive me if they're different. So this is the story about a child psychiatrist who has gone through this really traumatic experience, and he finds a new child to take care of, and the child has these abilities to see spirits, and he asks the psychiatrist to help him. This is an amazing film. Fantastic performances again. Bruce Willis, Haley Joel Osment, Toni Collette. Amazing. This is probably the first film that I ever watched with Toni Collette, and she's so good in this. This film does have horror elements, but it doesn't have horror as a subgenre within IMDb, but I definitely do think that there are some parts of this film that scared the crap out of me as a child, and I still think they're pretty scary. Definitely think that it is such an incredible movie with such a good twist. Again, M. Night Shyamalan with twists. I mean, you can't go wrong, but this film is excellent, and I think that it deserves a top 10 spot. At number 7, I have Kiss the Girls. This is a movie that was adapted from a book by James Patterson with the same name. It's an Alex Cross novel, and it stars Morgan Freeman and Ashley Judd. I almost forgot her name, and I absolutely love her, by the way. And just side note, I really love the film Double Jeopardy. That is more of a crime drama, so that was not on this list, unfortunately. Kiss the Girls on IMDb is also considered a crime drama mystery, but like I said, if mystery is thrown in there, I tend to think of it as a thriller. This is a story about a woman who manages to escape from a situation where she's been kidnapped, and she was kept in like a dungeon, and she's able to lead the police to where she was kept hostage, and a bunch of other women have gone missing as well. Alex Cross is a psychiatrist who's also a police detective, and so they kind of work together to try and solve this mystery and find her kidnapper. At number 6, I'm cheating a little bit here. It is actually a horror thriller. I didn't realize this. I thought it was mainly thriller. It has a couple of horror elements at the end of the film, but I do think that most of this film is thriller. So I'm going to stick with that. And that is Split. This is the movie starring James McAvoy. What happens is these 3 girls get kidnapped by James McAvoy, who is diagnosed to have 23 distinct personalities, and they try and plan on escaping from him. When the 24th personality shows up is when the horror element kicks in, but I do think that this is mainly a thriller film. At number 5, I have the film Fear, starring Mark Wahlberg and Reese Witherspoon. I grew up watching this. I was really young when I watched this, and it actually scared me, but it is a drama thriller. This is a story about a girl called Nicole who meets this guy at a party. They become boyfriend and girlfriend. Her dad doesn't really like the fact that he's older and he finds him really creepy and weird. So things escalate and she realizes that he is a little unhinged. He becomes obsessed with her and things get really intense from there. This is kind of like a Fatal Attraction kind of movie, so it's the obsession turned deadly kind of plot line, but I think this one does it so well and it's probably one of the better ones. It to me is the best one. I highly recommend watching this, and both performances are fantastic. You've also got Alyssa Milano who's in this. Just a lot of nice 90s faces. I love this movie. Okay guys, now that I've started looking these movies up properly, I've noticed that a lot of them do interweave with horror, and the next one does. At number 4 I have What Lies Beneath. This stars Harrison Ford and Michelle Pfeiffer, and it does say here drama, horror, mystery. So I guess it is more of a horror mystery than a thriller, but like I said, if the word mystery is in there, I'm gonna call it a thriller. This is a story about a husband and a wife whose daughter just left for college, and so now they're finally empty nesters, and the wife starts to experience some supernatural things going on in the house, and she believes that this dead woman is trying to tell her something. I guess have the horror elements, but I think because I'm so used to really hardcore horror now, and horror is very gory now, this is very mild compared to the horror that we see these days. Another movie that I would have also included if this was the case, because it's very similar, is Gothica, but I just thought Gothica had really strong horror elements, so I didn't want to add it to this list. But now that I see that What Lies Beneath has horror as a subgenre, I probably could have added Gothica in here. I don't know where I would have ranked it, but I really do enjoy that movie with Halle Berry. That's just a side note. Highly recommend that movie as well. At number 3 I have the film Shutter Island starring Leonardo DiCaprio. This is a Martin Scorsese film, and it is one of the best Martin Scorsese films in my opinion. This is a story about a US Marshal who investigates the disappearance of a murderer who escaped from a hospital for the criminally insane, and it's on an island. So during this period he's trying to investigate everything that's happened and starts to unravel some pretty crazy stuff. It is so well acted, so well directed. It is such a great piece of art, and absolutely love this movie. That ending is amazing. The twist, brilliant. Okay, so we've got 2 left, and at number 2 is another M. Night Shyamalan movie, and that is Unbreakable, starring Bruce Willis and Samuel L. Jackson. This is a story about a man who, after being in an accident, discovers that he has these supernatural abilities. He's approached by a man called Mr. Glass, who tries to kind of help him unravel and achieve more with these abilities. And that's all I'm going to say. This is part of a trilogy now, but originally when this came out, it was a one-off film. But the trilogy is Unbreakable, Split, and Glass. So you guys probably know this already, but I just thought I would let you guys know, because at the very end of Split, there is a little scene that kind of lets you in on the fact that it is part of the Unbreakable storyline. And then obviously in Glass you see all the characters together, so you know that it kind of was always going to be the case. But anyway, Unbreakable is the one that started it all. I absolutely love this film. It is a slow burn. I do watch it the most out of the 3 in the trilogy, so that is why it is my favorite, and it is number 2 on my list. And finally, at number 1, I have the film Seven. This stars Brad Pitt and Morgan Freeman. They play detectives who are partners, and they need to solve multiple crimes of a killer who is killing people off based on the 7 deadly sins. For those of you who don't know this was actually a huge inspiration for the creators of the movie Saw, and you can kind of see what I mean by that. This is also said to be a crime drama mystery, but to me it's very thrilling. It's got the very psychological part of the thriller, and I just love this film. This is my absolute favorite thriller of all time, and I don't think I'll ever move it from the #1 spot. It's so good. The ending of this film still gets to me, and the reveal and everything is incredible. A really cool fact about this film is, well, I read the Brad Pitt unauthorized biography, but in there it did say that he was filming another movie at the same time, and he had a limited time to film 7. During this period it was raining every single day, and so they just had to film the movie, and to me that adds another element to the film with the rainy, depressed kind of look to it. So originally that's not how it was supposed to be, but because of the short scheduling in Brad Pitt's filming schedule, they had to kind of just go with the flow. So that's it for the video. It's short and sweet, but I wanted to give you guys my favorite thrillers of all time. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching my video. Please give it a thumbs up if you liked it. Subscribe to my channel. I would love to have you guys here. Please share on your socials. This really helps my channel grow, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.